Welcome to Plans Are Booked, a podcast for every reader. I'm Molly Geller.
I'm Stephanie Blackburn.
And I'm Caitlin Madison. Welcome to episode 116. Notice I didn't say the and, just like my teachers taught me in elementary school. You're not supposed to throw an and in there. Unless you're writing a check, I think. Maybe then you do. Anyway, welcome. What has everyone been up to? I feel like I had a whirlwind weekend. The weather's been great. People have been out and about doing things. Yard work was happening. There's like multiple houses for sale in my neighborhood all of a sudden. It's all popping. It's happening. What's going on?
I've got 2 TV shows to recommend. The first one is Trust Me, which is about Warren Jeffs, famously of the FLDS. Yeah. Think about those letters for a second. When he went to jail, he left sort of like a opening for someone else to just sneak in and call themselves a prophet. And so this is a 4-episode documentary about the man, Sam Bateman, who stepped in and claimed that he was the new prophet. And it is about this woman, Christine, who she herself was swindled into a cult when she was younger. Her daughter is famously of the podcast Trust Me, which is also a fantastic listen. And Christine and her husband end up infiltrating this group and get so much camera footage and ultimately take them down. And even my sister watched it with me. So 4 episodes, fantastic.
Do I need to know anything going into it?
I mean, do you know about like the FLDS and everything?
Not a lot, no.
What? How? Okay. It's basically the polygamous sect of Mormonism in Utah and Arizona and like over there. Warren Jeffs was the really gross man who did a lot of things to young women. Children. Let's call them children. They were children. And ended up in prison for basically life for what he did.
Is there one that I should watch before this one?
No. I mean, they'll sort of set it up. I mean, did you never watch like Big Love or like any of those shows back in the day?
No.
Oh my God.
No, I did not.
Okay. We're on like different trains of what excites us.
Okay, here's the thing.
You're not into cults?
My 10th grade, my 10th grade U.S. history class report that I got to pick anything that had to do with U.S. history. I did the Jim Jones cult.
Mm-hmm.
So like it started a little bit there. And then like I followed and listened to all of the NXIVM stuff, like the HBO show, and I did the podcast and the this and the that. And I paid attention to whatchamacallit. Why can't I think of the name of it? The other really big one with the big shootout.
Oh, in Waco. Okay, well, this is more religion and then a wilder sort of shoot off of it. So if religion, we're at like gray areas, cults, if that's into like your, if that entices you. It's 4 episodes. I think you would just blow through it.
Yeah, I might do it. I don't know. I'll see how I feel.
The second one is the new Untold, which is Chessmates, which is about Magnus Carlsen, who for over a decade has been the top chess player. And he got taken down by a teenager from New York, Hans Niemann, and no one in the chess world could believe it. So they basically said he was cheating. Somehow anal beads played into it. It's just, it's so intriguing.
I love chess stuff, so I'll probably do that one for sure.
That's like a movie though. So that's like an hour and a half. The other one is 4 episodes.
Okay. I had a Wheaton reunion at my house this weekend. I invited 2 of my friends, Julie and India, down. Julie has a pug that Connell, my dog, loves to wrestle with. And I invited them down, and then I proceeded to reach out to all of my other Wheaton friends that live in the area, and it ended up being 7 of us, and we went to El Azteca, which is my favorite Mexican restaurant that we used to go to in college all the time. And then we were going to go to the Wheaton bookstore, but then Molly had the smarts to look it up and they're only open 10 to 2 on Saturdays, which is so random. So then we ended up pivoting to the Wrentham outlets on a sunny Saturday, which was bold moves all around, but it was really fun catching up with everybody. And it was like the weather was just so good, and like we just had like a wacky week at work last week. Like there was one day that my brother was out because he was sick, and then there was one day that I only worked half a day because my furnace wasn't working and I had to like get it serviced. And then there was another day where another one of my coworkers was out because her daughter had surgery. And there's only 4 of us in the office. So only 1 out of the 4 of us made it the entire week last week. Like it was just super funky. And I was like, just get me through this week, get me to my friends, get me to the sunshine. We got to sit on my deck. The dogs got to play until their little hearts were content. It was very nice. And then this week, I'm getting ready because Molly and I leave in a few days to go to Napa. And I've never been there. And I haven't been to California since 2008, which is nutso. Because I think from 2003 to 2008, I went to California like 3 or 4 times. And now it's just been like an 18-year hiatus. And now I'm back. I'm going to be back. So I'm like trying to get my packing list together. I'm trying to get myself organized. We're going to see Tessa for dinner. She just texted me and was like, what time is dinner on Friday? And I was like, oh my God, that's this Friday. I can't even believe it. So should be really good. And that's what I have going on.
Well, in addition to being a guest at the aforementioned LS Techa lunch, I went to a friend's birthday party. And if you've been a long time listener of Plans Are Booked, you already know there is nothing I love more than a birthday celebration. Mine especially, but as other people's also. This friend I know in a work context, and I did not understand what an epic party planner she is. And I was taking notes. Like, this was so many personal, cute touches. When you walked in, there was a poster board that said, how do you know Amy? And there were all of these different options, and every single one corresponded to a color. And there were glow stick bracelets for every color. And you put on however many applied. So if you knew her from her neighborhood, but also from summer camp, but also from her running club, whatever it is. So some people had like 1 bracelet on, some people had 8 bracelets on. It was amazing. And also it just like reminded me of childhood bat and bar mitzvah weekends where like glow sticks were just a thing. She had signature drinks, which that on its own is not anything different or that wild. But the bartenders are making these drinks, and then I watch them put giant ice cubes into every drink in the shape of the letter A. And I was like, how have I never had an M-shaped ice cube?
Where did she have this event?
So she lives in Roslindale, and there is a space there called the Substation that you can rent for community events, private events. There was a DJ. She had all kinds of snacks and treats out. It was fantastic. And by the way, when I opened the Evite to remind myself the address before I got in the car to go there, you can see how many people have RSVP'd. There were 124 people who had RSVP'd yes to this thing. And I didn't realize it. Like, I just didn't realize the party was that large scale.
She basically had a wedding, not a birthday
It was
party.
amazing. It was amazing. And also, she asked everyone to wear their sparkliest outfits. I had impulse purchased a dress from an Instagram ad back in January. And then I never wore it anywhere. I just tried it on, knew that I loved it, but I didn't really have an occasion yet. So when she said that, I put it on quickly and I took a picture of myself and I was like, will this suffice? And she was like, you must wear that. Now, I was a little bit nervous because I was going to a neighborhood I don't usually spend time in. I didn't know how far I was parking from the venue, what I was going to be walking by. 2 strangers complimented the dress on the street as I was walking from my car to the party. And I was like, okay, like this was the right move. And when I walked in, there were so many other people in sequins, full pantsuits, dresses, tops, like Sergeant Pepper style hat. Like there were all these interpretations of the sparkle dress code. She also hired a photographer. So she's going to have like all these epic photos of everybody dressed like disco balls. It was just, it unlocked a level of inspiration that I did not know that I needed.
That was quite the day for you. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I was in the
Like-
car for like 4 hours.
Yeah, that'll do it. I have a story about this sweater. So
Okay.
this is a floral cardigan for people that don't get a chance to see it. And I'm going to call him a boy because I think of him as a boy. A boy that I grew up with, that I went to high school with, came and got his teeth cleaned at the office today. He was a year ahead of me in school. And we were catching up, and I was asking him how his kids were and this, that, and the other thing, whatever. And he goes, Caitlin, don't you look so grown up in your little cardigan? And I was like, and I looked at him and I go, are you calling me old? Are you saying this is like an old lady cardigan? And he was like, no. He was like, not at all. Like, you just, this is like I like this look. And I looked at him and I was like, what? And he's like, I don't know. I just, every time I see you, you look so young. It's like you could be puking out the side of a car still. And like, I look like this. And like, he's balding and like has gray hair. And we don't look the same age. He's right. We don't. But I was just like, I just looked at him and I was like, I don't know what to do with that. I was like, that isn't really a compliment. And like, are you saying that I don't like look put together at all the other appointments you've come to? Like, I just was like, I don't know what to do with this. And like, he kept digging himself deeper into the hole. And I was like, oh Lord. So I don't know what to make of this. I like this cardigan. When I bought it, I felt like Emma from Glee, who had the best cardigan game maybe in the history of time. And he kind of like yucked my yum a little bit. But I think he meant to give me a compliment, but it didn't work. It didn't land. I think he's jealous that I look not my age and he looks over his age. But like, why we went with the cardigan, I don't know. I'm not
I
sure.
will say this. I've seen you wear that before. It's very noticeable. It's
Yeah.
like it stands out. It's not just a solid color or black. It feels like he just was trying to compliment you and then wound
I
up
think
saying
he liked
foot in
it,
mouth
but then
kind
was
of.
like didn't know how to compliment a woman on something she's wearing or something. I don't really know. Anyways, he tried, I guess. I'll give him the points for trying, I suppose. But yeah, it made me laugh and I was like, well, I think it's a cool sweater. But also like, cool, thanks for saying I look my age now, I guess. I don't know. The whole interaction, I was like, okay. I was giving books to one of my college roommates the other day and I like gave her 3 and she goes, I can't take more than 3. I'm like, I have rooms of books at my house. I'm like, you can have more than 3 if you want. But I handed off, what did I give her? She had never read a Carly Fortune book, so I gave her one of those. I gave her the book, I'm blanking on the name, but it's the collection of essays about being a mother.
Oh, yeah.
And
Nicole
Mothers and
Lipson.
other fictional characters.
Yeah, and then the third one I think was probably a mystery because she likes mysteries. But anyways, I lined her up with some good stuff and I felt good about it. She listens to the pod, shout out Elsmurf, and hopefully she reports back that she liked everything that I gave her. There was also a heated discussion at lunch about The Correspondent because I don't like it. And everyone else, there were like 4 people at the table that had read it and did like it. And I was okay being in the minority. It was fine. So that was like kind of fun. That like I can't tell you the last time I was at like a Wheaton lunch where we were like talking about books. I was like, all right, guys, getting it together. So yeah, I was the only English major there. So that's really saying something that everybody's getting down to business with the reading. Shout out Wheaton 07 getting the reading done. So we're not doing a single book this week. We're doing a thematic episode. I suggested we do our favorite sports books. And I just want to give like honorable mention to a couple of books that we all would have picked, I think. Beartown by Frederick Bachman, like for sure. And we've talked about that book so many times that we kind of said we're putting that one to rest, but that one should be in this episode. It should be mentioned. And then the other one that I was thinking about is basically just the entire Heated Rivalry series, which we also have talked about extensively. And so we just wanted to like, it's kind of funny that they're both hockey. We just wanted to give them shout outs because they deserve it, but we weren't gonna, as we go down the line, we all wanted to like kind of promote different books. I have 2. I realized that we didn't discuss how many people were picking.
I also
Steph
have
has
2.
Okay, everybody has 2. Great. Okay, I'll go first. So both of my books are actually like middle grade young adult. They're books that I taught. I decided to like pivot a little bit when I was thinking about sports books that I've really enjoyed. And so the first book that I don't have either of them with me, but the first book that I want to shout out as a great sports book is called Ghost by Jason Reynolds. And that actually became an entire series. And every book is named after a character that's on this inner city track team. And Ghost is the nickname of a boy that joins this track team. It's a pretty elite track team. The book starts off a little violently. Like, I just want to give like a trigger warning to people that might buy this book for their kids. There is like a pretty massive scene of domestic violence like at the beginning, and he and his mom end up being safe, but his dad like has to leave. He's kind of like a latchkey kid where he has a lot of time where he's alone, and so like this rumor gets around that like he's pretty fast, and he, you know, one thing leads to another, and he gets recruited to being on this track team. He meets all these kids. He starts to learn what discipline is. The coach is this like unbelievable mentor character who also had kind of a hard home life growing up, and running was a real escape for him. And there's all these like life lessons that happen throughout the book that are really, I think, important, because Ghost is not a bad kid, but he makes a couple of bad decisions, and he automatically thinks that he has like ruined everything. And so there's a lot of opportunities for second chances and like working for forgiveness and gaining people's trust back. And like he's used to people just being like, and we're done here, like one and done, see ya. And that's a really hard lesson for somebody who's like 12 to learn. This book has a lot of great things happening. Kids love this book, like middle schoolers, I'd say like 10 to 15 probably. It's also short, so it's like not intimidating to anyone. And then each of the books in the series follow, there's one called Patina, I forget all the names of the characters, but each book follows them, and you see how they end up on this track team and what their home lives are and like kind of the things that they're going through. And it's not all, it's like a lot of these books sometimes are like real sad sack kind of stuff, like, oh, you know, the poor kid that, you know, doesn't have like the right running gear, and like we should all feel bad for him. It's not like that. There's funny parts. There's like moments of triumph. There's moments where he really screws up. There's moments where the adults screw up. Like it's good. And I love Jason Reynolds. I've met him. He's awesome. He said that he never meant this book to become a series, but then people loved it so much, and there were so many kids at events saying, I want to learn more about so and so and so and so and so and so, that he was like, I felt like I kind of had to do it. And so that's kind of an interesting thing that it took on this life of its own. So yeah, so that's my first vote, which I'm not even a runner, so that tells you everything you need to know. Like, I don't even like running, and I enjoyed this book.
My first book is Breath by Tim Winton, who is Australian. I read this book a million years ago, but I looked it up, and there's actually a movie, which now I don't even remember if I ever watched that or not. This is a surfing book, specifically a big wave surfing book, and it's sort of a coming of age story about two boys who sort of get taken under the wing of this legendary surfer who teaches them how to actually handle big waves. But also there's a lot of trauma, and with coming of age there's like sexual experiences, and it's definitely not a book that I would have normally picked up in my 20s or 30s, whenever it was that I read it, just because it was like a young male protagonist, but it was beautifully written, and I didn't really realize I was into big wave surfing until I had read it. And then recently, if you are into big wave surfing or just find fascinating how you can die, like, it's a very dangerous activity. There is a fantastic documentary series, I believe it's on HBO, called 100 Foot Wave. And it's about Garrett McNamara, who's a big wave surfer, and how he basically took on, before Instagram blew it up, this 100-foot wave that was in Portugal that like only the locals knew about. And he trained and got a team together and figured out how to handle something so insanely dangerous for the thrill, but also to like bring other surfers in, and it's incredible to watch. It gives me major anxiety. But start with the book because Breath by Tim Winton is just like a beautiful young boy coming of age story, and then surfing is just sort of like a minor character.
The book definitely made me nervous when they're like doing a lot of the training for holding your breath, like in case you get caught under a wave for a really long time. And I just remember when I was reading it, I was like, holy, like this is like they can feel themselves like almost passing out. And it's like they're training. And I'm like, oh no, 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 no.
I've only gotten rocked once, and it was honestly like a very small wave compared to this stuff. And water in general just scares the shit out of me, which is why I have a tattoo reminding myself to be brave. Because sometimes the things that scare you are actually the most worthwhile doing. But shout out to surfers.
I'm loving this so much because all of your choices are so different than I thought they were going to be, and I'm just enjoying listening to you. My first choice is The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach. This book I gave 5 stars when I read it a million years ago, and I still recommend it to people. It's about a young man named Henry who gets recruited to play baseball. He comes for his freshman year after being plucked from the tiniest of towns. And it's at a fictional college somewhere that's supposed to be on Lake Michigan. And his eyes just get open to a host of things. He has a gay roommate, and he's never met a gay person before. He is taken under the wing of one of the 5th-year seniors, and he sees all the ways that he medicates himself in order to move through his body pain, the way that women just appear at his door. There's a lot of learning that happens for young Henry. And there's a side story about the college principal or dean having a very inappropriate relationship on the side. So it's really a story about learning about what it is to be an adult in the world and stepping outside of the norms of your beginnings and trying to figure out who you want to be. Do you want to be someone who is open-minded and accepting and just a warm member of society? Or do you want to just continue in the way that you have always been? And I think the writing is really beautiful. And I admittedly am not a big sports fan. And the setting of this felt right for becoming part of a team, becoming part of this important community. He joins all of these different activities on campus in which he starts to figure out what he likes, what he doesn't like. It's basically like his whole life up until this point was just baseball and all of the team members who looked exactly like him. And then he gets plopped into a place where he has to relearn the rules of being a person in the world. And I thought it was done super beautifully. And you don't have to be a huge sports enthusiast to enjoy it. You definitely don't have to know anything about baseball. If you've ever been in a team setting, I think you would still enjoy it and recognize a lot of the character archetypes. And I think it was actually a bit early for its time, talking about some of these like unspoken things that happen on college campuses. So it in some ways might feel more relevant today than it even did when it first came out.
Back in his Teen Wolf days, that Dylan O'Brien said that that was his favorite book because he's a huge baseball nerd, and he really was working hard to like try and get it to become a movie, and he wanted to be in it. And obviously that never happened, but I just thought that you would enjoy that little tidbit.
I do, and I didn't know that.
I also forgot one other honorable mention, like it's just in the Hall of Fame of sports books. So I wanted to add Friday Night Lights because obviously I would have picked that. Yeah, it belongs with Beartown for obvious reasons, and also Heated Rivalry because we consumed it in all of the ways, in a TV show format, a movie format, the book format. So I'm putting that in the pantheon as well. My second book is another like middle grade, young adult, whatever you want to call it, junior high, I guess. It's called The Honest Truth by Dan Gemmenhart. And this is a book that's going to really get you in your feels. Like, if I'm warning you now, like there's a lot of sad parts about this book. This book is about a boy who he's like, I think in 6th grade, I think he's 12. and he's been in remission for his cancer, and he basically finds out that he's not in remission anymore and the cancer is back and it's pretty aggressive and they're not sure if he's going to make it or not. And he has had this lifelong dream of climbing Mount Rainier. And so basically he and his dog run away from home and try to tackle this because he knows that like everybody's going to be like, you're too sick, you need to go back in the hospital and do all these treatments that are going to make you feel like crap. And he's like, I just want to go out on my own terms. I want to do this. I don't want anybody to hold me back. And the way that the book is set up is there's this like correspondence between him and his best friend who's a girl, and she sort of knows what he's up to but like doesn't have all the details, and she's holding out with the parents and the police for like as long as possible to like kind of give him a head start. But then she starts to like get really nervous that he's going to get hurt, and so then you kind of like watch her deal like with the burden of like knowing this thing and like trying to be true to her best friend, but then also like, you know, she doesn't want anything bad to happen to him. And it is so good. The dog is a huge part of the book. He meets all sorts of interesting people along the way because he has to take like a bus, and then he's walking, and then he's hitchhiking, and then he's actually hiking. Again, I don't like hiking, and this book was great. Like, I can't believe I picked books about running and hiking. What a weirdo. But this book is so good. Kids really connected with it. They really liked it. They were, you know, they wanted there to be like a sequel. They were like, does Jess get her own book? And Jess is like the best friend. And I was like, I don't think so, guys. But like, this author has written other books. And Dan Gemmenhart, very active on social media. Like, I've talked with him before, like gone back and forth and been like, my students loved your book, like blah, blah, blah. So that's really cool. It's just a great book. I would imagine that it would be a really good one to like listen to in the car on the way to a family vacation, or read it with your kids like at night or something, because there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to discuss. I wouldn't just like give this book to like any 11-year-old and be like, best wishes. Like, it's, you got to talk about it and know what's going on. It's really beautiful. It's really well done. Really tugs at your heartstrings. I already know this because I taught middle school for so long, but it really makes you realize that kids that age are young adults, and you can trust them with a lot of big things and big decisions, but like in moderation, right? So a big part of the storyline is like, he feels like he's not part of the decision making process. He feels like his parents are going to be like, you will do this treatment and you will get sick again, and we will be treating you like a baby because you're so ill and fragile, and like we're so worried about you. And this is like kind of his like way of stomping his foot a little bit. It's really good. The honest truth. Recommend.
Okay, my second one is The Boys of Riverside, a deaf football team in a quest for glory by Thomas Fuller. Thomas Fuller was a New York Times journalist who was living out in California, and he decided to take a year off from work and follow this team as they attempted to, end up at the championships. It is about a school where the students are all deaf, the teachers are deaf, and the challenges with playing against hearing refs and hearing teams, but also how that makes you more in sync when you have to sort of account for the fact that you can't have like a 1, 2, 3, you're asking me to do football terminology and I'm not going to be able to do it, but the snap can't happen.
I'm not touching it. It's fine. The snap part was right. You got that part right.
If you read Friday Night Lights and you liked that book, then this would be another good one, because obviously this is nonfiction. This is not a fiction story. This is about the 2021 season. So it's also, they come out of COVID and the kids are completely out of shape because they were all doing Zoom school for the past year. One of the kids on the team lives in the Target parking lot in his dad's car. It's about the individuals on the team. It's about the coaching staff. It's about family. It's fantastic. And I had been staring at this cover for over a year, and this episode gave me a reason to finally buy it. So
I can't wait to read that. So I've talked about this a few times on the pod. Though I'm not a fan of live sports, I am a fan of all the sports documentaries like F1 Drive to Survive, Full Swing, Breakpoint, Starting Five, which is why my second
Which
book,
makes me, I think
know it makes you nuts.
it's reality TV.
It doesn't make me nuts. It's just funny to me because I think I've only seen like a season of each of those shows that you've mentioned, and I know you've seen all of it. And I'm the sports fanatic.
I am more interested in why someone loves to play, why they're willing to put themselves through absolute agony and torture and self-hatred over and over and over again. Who are the other people in their ecosystem that enable them to move forward? Their parents, their siblings, their significant others, their trainers, their psychologists. That's the part that interests me. I don't actually care if they win or lose. And that's the difference between like watching live sports and just caring about the humans.
Bananas.
No,
Bananas.
it's because she's a book girly. She's there for the story. She doesn't care about the game. It's the story. It's the arc. It's
But
the plot.
team gets an arc. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's fine. We'll have a separate conversation about it. One day you might like watching it. I don't know. But okay, what's your book?
So my book, which is in that same vein of the behind the scenes of it all, is an oldie but an amazing book, Moneyball by Michael Lewis, which is also a baseball book, which is the fact that I chose two baseball books when that is the sport that probably bores me the most is just like an amazing turn of events. But the reason is because
You had a crush on a baseball player in college?
Did you?
You know, as I was
You
walking over
did?
here tonight, as I was walking over here tonight, I was like, am I going to talk about that or am I not? Well, Stephanie decided to bring it up. Moneyball by Michael Lewis is about Billy Beane, one of the past general managers of the Oakland A's, and the way that he has a shoestring budget compared to a bunch of other teams. And he has to get really creative about how he starts recruiting for the team and how he builds the farm league. And he starts doing things that are seemingly very odd to other scouts and GMs, and they can't quite make sense of what he thinks he's doing and why he's bringing on people who seem like B plus, not A plus. And it talks about how that approach turned things around for the A's. Michael Lewis, I think, is one of the most talented nonfiction writers. His books read like the pacing of a fiction book, and he does incredible research. And he's very generous with his time doing interviews and answering questions about all of his projects. I've read many of his other books, but I think this one would probably be my most favorite. It did become a movie with Brad Pitt. So if you've never seen it, if you decide to read it,
Chris Pratt
and Chris
plays
Pratt.
Hatteberg, who was a catcher on the Red Sox. No biggie.
Yes. So if you decide to read it and then you want to reward yourself, there is a movie. Or if you've seen the movie, perhaps you might like, now that it's been quite a while, to read the original source material. So if you, like me, like all of those behind the scenes documentaries, this is that in the written form.
Just like real quick, have either of you heard of the book Bleachers by John Grisham? That was another one that almost made it into that one's like a novella. I read it a really long time ago, but there's like a high school reunion or something, and all these football players that I think won like a championship or something together end up being together again, and they reminisce about this game. And it was like, I think it would have been a really good TV show, honestly. Kind of like October Road vibes a little bit, if anybody watched that. But anyways, that almost made it in there. And because I was going through my Goodreads, like going through all my books, and that one popped up, and I was like, I completely forgot that I read that. I'm hoping that listeners give us some ideas of sports books that we should read, because I really like sports books as a genre, and I would love to like maybe incorporate some nonfiction ones, but also like I'd love more novels. You know, obviously we loved Fake Skating. That was like a really fun one. And I know there's a lot out there. I just don't know enough about it, and I'm hoping that people like give us some ideas. That would be That would be great. I also almost did Binding 13, which is an Irish rugby series. I like the two that I went with. What's everybody reading right now?
I'll go. I read The Bridge Back to You by Iris M. Nielsen. I am pretty sure I gave 5 stars to her first book. Did I? Did I give 5 stars to it? I'm going to say that I did because in my heart, I'm pretty sure I gave 5 stars to her first book, which was called A Love Like the Sun. I cried at the end of that. Not that that means anything at this point. This one I did not cry. This one is about 2 people who fell in love when they were teenagers, Olive and Carmelo. Olive's family, her parents were sort of like do-gooders and nomads. They traveled a lot and they ended up in her, I think she's 15 or 16 at the beginning. They end up in Providence and they're off doing their work during the day and she needs something to do. So she finds herself at this restaurant called Celia's Place and she asks if she could like work there, if it's like doing the dishes or something, just to have something to do. And Celia says yes. And she becomes friends with the son, who also works in the kitchen. And they become best friends. And then they become more than best friends. And then we fast forward 10 years and she's now a private chef. She tours the world as like, you know, someone with a lot of money can be like, I'm heading here for work for 6 months. I want you to come and be my personal chef. So she's been doing that and she's relatively happy, but she just got divorced and she gets notification that Celia has passed and she got written into the will as part of the owner of the restaurant. So she hasn't seen Carmelo in a very long time and things did not end well between them. And she shows up and he's like, the F is she doing here? And she's trying to be like, no big deal. I'm here. It's going to be fine. And so the two of them are trying to figure out how to co-own, co-work, coexist in the same space when they both clearly still have feelings, maybe positive, maybe negative, definitely attraction, you know. So it's like a back and forth now and then, both point of views. Yeah.
I am reading a book that's been on my shelf for, I'm going to say, multiple years, I think. It's called Stay True by Hua Shu. It won a Pulitzer, no biggie. It's a memoir. The author alludes to his best friend passing away. You don't really know a lot of details about it beyond that it's like mentioned on the back of the book, and then in the beginning he talks about this like best friend that he has, and then he kind of like after that first chapter flashes back to growing up and his family structure. And his family structure is interesting because his parents are from Taiwan. They both go to college and graduate school in the United States, and they decide to raise their son, the author, in Cupertino before Apple has like exploded and before Silicon Valley like is like a term that everybody knows. And at a certain point, his dad is struggling to find a job in academia, and so he moves back to Taiwan. And he talks about how he's in all of these accelerated math classes because his dad always helped him with his homework. And so his dad buys a fax machine and they have a fax machine, and he faxes his homework to him to like get help on the problems, which I just found so endearing. Music plays a large role in this. He talks about how they would just drive around so they could listen to a new mixtape that they made. And all the reviews that I've read of this book like really focus on like grief and dealing with like the loss of like one of your most important friendships. So I know that's like coming down the pipeline with this book, but I don't really know how it happens or why it happens or how old they are when it happens. But it was enough, it was a significant enough moment for him to be like, I want to write about it. And I'm like 50 pages in, it's beautiful so far. I don't know what made me pick it up now, but it's been on my shelf for like a really long time. And it just, I don't know, just jumped out at me this week for some reason. So that's what I'm reading.
Nice. I just finished last night Into the Blue by Emma Brody. I loved her first book, Songs in Ursa Major. I know we all enjoyed it. And I was so excited that she was coming out with something else. Steph is just a champion and acquires these early reader copies so that we are able to enjoy them before they get released. And there was a lot of hype about this book, and it's in one of the upper echelon book clubs. And I sometimes get nervous when books that are not even out yet are chosen, because it's not based on like constant reader chatter or book talk fame. It's based on pre-reads from the higher ups. This book is one of the most moving love stories I've read in a really long time.
Is it
And
up there with Atmosphere?
it's different.
Mm.
It's about deeply knowing and understanding another person in a way that no one else in their life does. And no matter how long you know each other or how many obstacles there are put in your way, you're able to sort of magnetize back to each other and find that mutual starting point again. And there are steamy sex scenes in this book, but you barely notice them because the emotional connection that is being described is so profound. And I joke a lot here on the pod about the idea of imprinting, like from Twilight. She actually puts the joke in the book like a few times. And I thought that is what she's trying to express, that it's like this thing you can't even control, that you are so deeply connected to another person. The premise is an interesting one in that they are improv actors. And so when they are performing in a UCB like setting or on stage for a TV show or on stage for a movie, everyone around them is like, what's going on with those two? Like they're on another planet with the way they're building the scene. And it's almost like the rest of us are not even here. And there are many challenges that try to intercept their relationship, and it goes over decades worth of time. This book is long. It's 430 pages, and it's large pages with small font. And I was saying to Steph that I felt like I was reading it for years, even though I only read it over the course of probably 5 days. I just wanted to savor every single word. I didn't want to skim. I didn't want to skip ahead. It's not that it's slow. It's just that you don't want to miss any of these moments between them. So you're really forced to take your time with it if you want to soak it all in. I would be shocked if this doesn't become some kind of screen adaptation. It just really feels meant for that. And I don't know if they'll be able to do it justice. It's one of those where it makes me nervous a bit because I'm not sure that chemistry will be able to be captured in the same way. But I loved it. I'm so happy that it's getting big acclaim and that more people are going to read it and bring it into their book clubs. And the acknowledgments section of this book is many pages long. And anytime an author decides to basically tell their entire life story in the acknowledgments, I do like a little happy dance. And she feels like a person that if we met in real life, we would want to become friends with her.
I took a writing class with her, like an online Zoom. This was like probably 2021, 2022, something like that. She's very, very funny. And she lives on Martha's Vineyard, like year round. And she is like an editor. She does editing, and like the class that I took was like basically how to pitch your book kind of thing. And this second book was published through Thousand Voices, which is Jenna Bush Hager's new publishing company, which I found very, like, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, astounding. Like somebody that's in publishing and like helps people get their books published, like is with like a brand new publisher for her second book, which I just found fascinating. And then like you were saying, Mal, it just got picked up for a different person's book club, which I got my copy today, and it has the little insignia on it and everything. That seems like an interesting crossover event to me. I don't think that's ever happened before. Obviously, Jenna's publishing company is new. I think this is only the second book that's out. I know she has other books like on the stove, so to speak, but like I think this is the second one that's out in the world.
It's at least the third because Ariel has 2 books that are currently out.
Oh, she has
Conform
two.
was the first one, right?
And her prequel's already out too.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know there was a prequel. So anyways, I think that that's like an interesting crossover, and I'm kind of fascinated by that. And like, why didn't it go into Jenna's book club is what I'm kind of curious about. And I don't know if we'll find out why or why not. I'm kind of hoping we do. So if any of our listeners see Emma Brody at a book event, make sure you ask that, because I'm so curious. Put her on the spot. Find out, how do you get yourself into Jenna's publishing house and then Reese's book club? That's what I want to know. The people need to ask for me.
Okay, listeners, if you want to follow along with all the books that we mentioned today, you can join us on Instagram. We are at Plans Are Booked. That's where we list all the books we mention in every episode. You can also write to us, plansarebooked@gmail.com. If you liked what you heard today, we'd be so grateful if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps people find the show.
And until next time, our plans are booked.